So you'll become very used to this term subjunctive, not only by the end of this semester, but through the beginning of next semester in 202. This won't sound so new and foreign as it does right now. Subjuntivo y mandatos. So just to reiterate, because it relates to commands in a lot of ways, a mandato is a command, and we just did an activity in which you provided negative command. Don't break up. Don't end the relationship. Don't go on the date. Don't drink milk, for example, were some of your ideas. And then we had affirmative commands telling people to do something, like break up with your girlfriend, or don't go to work was another negative, sorry. Drink lots of water, take aspirin, things like that. So those are commands, and those are very direct, very, very direct. Do's and don'ts, right? Today, we're going to look at something that's a little bit less direct. Oops, doble S. Estudiantes. So when we talked about commands the other day in class, I was telling you all to do things and not to do things to be, like a good college student. And we had this verb, limpian sus casas frecuentemente. And what was I telling you to do? Clean your houses. Very direct, very to the point. But sometimes in Spanish, we want to soften that. We don't always want to, just lay out mandatos left and right. And when we soften our advice, we use the subjunctive. The subjunctive is a term in which we have two ideas connected with K. So at the beginning of the semester, we had this connector K. Remember that at the beginning? You had it on your Chapter 9 test. K with an accent can be a question, but K can also be a connector in a statement. And we use K as a connector in a statement with the subjunctive when we're softening our advice. So rather than just saying limpian sus casas frecuentemente, I'm going to preface that advice with something a little softer, like es importante, K. So now what am I saying? I'm not just saying, clean your houses. I'm saying, it's important that y'all clean your houses. I'm just softening the advice. So the context is a little bit different, right? Es importante que is just a little softer, a little less direct, a little less serious, okay? That's the context. But y'all tell me what's happened with the grammar. What's happened with the grammar? What's the difference grammatically, not contextually, grammatically between a mandato, how you conjugate a mandato, and how you conjugate a verb in the subjuntivo? Grammatically, what's different, Tiffany? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 2-for-1 special. This is really good news for your test and your final exam and the beginning of Spanish 202, because you're going to do this a ton. You're going to be spending the next 3 months of your life in Spanish going to the yo, dropping the yo, and changing it to the opposite of what you know, because there's lots of different uses of the subjunctive. So conjugating the verbs, that's the easy part. That's a very easy part. It's knowing when to use a subjunctive, which gets a little bit more of a gray area in Spanish. But right now it's going to be very black and white. So this phrase, es importante, is not, the grammar is normal. It's like what we call the indicative. We've done nothing to the verb ser that's weird. It's just ser es, like soy or something like that. It's very simple. It's after the K where the verb is affected. Why? Because this is a phrase, a recommendation. Okay, so, por ejemplo, the other day in class we said, estudiantes no ensucian su ropa cuando comen. And what was I telling you not to do? Don't what? Don't get your clothes dirty, right? Very direct, very forceful, much more intense. But then I'm going to soften it. La profesita le recomienda que. This is made softer by before I use this verb ensucian. What am I saying? Profesita. What does recomienda mean? Recommends that y'all. Okay? Again, ustedes, I'm still talking to y'all, but I've just made it a little softer. Okay? This is like something I'd say in office hours the first time you come. But then the next time you come, I'm like, estudie más, por favor. I've already said it, like in a nice way. Now I'm being more intense. Okay, when we use recomienda, some of these verbs that we'll see today require this little pronoun before it. So we know who I'm recommending what to, okay? That ley indicates who's the recipient of my recommendation, who's the recipient of my recommendation? I just noticed an error, I guess, when I copied and pasted it. Who am I recommending this to? Tiffany? Ustedes, right? So actually this should be les. Perdón, un error. I think I had it as clase and then changed it and forgot to change my pronoun. But the les goes with ustedes. So if I am recommending to you, it doesn't have to just be in the ustedes form. All of these verbs go into the O, dropping the O, changing to the opposite of what you know. I could say te recomiendo, and I would put my verb in the to form, ensucies. And we'll practice these more later. So, another command from the other day. Ustedes, acuéstense temprano durante la semana. So what was I telling you to do here? This is a command saying what? Un mandato diciendo que. Go to bed early during the week. Exactamente. Acuéstense. And remember, when we use a reflexive verb like divertirse or relajarse or acostarse or levantarse, when we tell somebody to do something, our pronoun is attached onto the end. But notice when it's in el subjuntivo, remember the verb after the K. Nothing's weird about before the K, but afterwards, we don't attach it because we're just conjugating the verb. It's not a command. It's much softer because I'm saying what? Es necesario que? What's es necesario que saying? It's necessary that y'all go to bed early. So the context is just like a little bit softer versus more direct, and the grammar is exactly the same. See?
Do we have to include the ustedes, or are you...
No, as long as it's known, ustedes is not necessary. But a lot of times, and that's a great question that I'll talk about in more detail later, but it is very important. She asked if you have to include the ustedes. And once it's identified who we're talking to, then we don't need to. But a lot of times, after the K, the whole reason why we're using the K, and we're going to talk about this in more detail, is because our subject is changing. We have a new subject. So in the previous slide, it said, profeseta les recomienda que ustedes. So before the K, we have a subject and a verb. And then after the K, we have a new subject and a new verb. So a lot of times, unless it's super obvious, we actually do need a new subject after the K so we know who the subject is of that new verb. All right, so just to review, these are more direct. These are softer. Limpian and limpiando, the way they're conjugated is exactly the same. Going to the O, dropping the O, changing it to the opposite of what you know. So the good news is, like I said, all the irregulars for the commands are all the same irregulars for a subjunctive. Even though the context is different, the grammar is the same. If they're go verbs in commands, they're go verbs in the subjunctive. Commands, though, we talked about the other day in class are just usted and ustedes. That's the only ones we were talking about, telling you or y'all to do something. But with the subjunctive, we could have the new subject be like, es importante que tú limpies tus, or would just be tu casa frecuentemente. So we can put this verb limpiar in the subjunctive form, following the same steps, but putting this verb in the to form, tu limpies. Okay, so we're going to apply that go to the O, drop the O, change it to the opposite of what we know to all different forms, all different subjects. Okay, depending on her subject is after the K. So this is when I said the grammar, the conjugating the verbs in the subjunctive is not very difficult because it's the same as commands. It's knowing when to use it because it's not a matter of, oh, I see like a phrase or technically a clause before a K, a verb and a subject or whatever before the K, so that means automatically that verb after that is going to be the subjunctive. No, 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 no. Because I can say, tengo un amigo que habla italiano. And habla isn't affected because I'm just saying I have a friend that. So you have to study these as the expressions, the type of phrases that come before the K introduce the subjunctive. Anytime we have the verb ser with an adjective that expresses a recommendation like necesario, importante, or like an emotion. So just like with the preterite versus imperfect, we had like that acronym TWEET. There's also acronyms for the phrases that come before the K that introduce the subjunctive. So not in Spanish 201, but in Spanish 202, all of your sentences on your tests in the future, like in January, are going to have K in them. And you're going to either conjugate the verb in the subjunctive, or you're going to leave the verb like you've been conjugating it all along, which is called the indicative. Like hablar, habla would be the indicative, but hablar, hable would be the subjunctive. So from this moment, your foundation, the first day talking about the subjunctive, it's fundamental that you recognize what these words mean and what they're expressing in terms of influence, okay? Recommendations, 100% subjunctive, followed by a K. And these are all verbs. The other ones were impersonal expressions because we had the verb ser, es, like importante, or es buena idea. But these all have a subject and a verb, and then a K and a new subject, okay? These are all expressing recommendations, but what do they mean? It's important to know. I mean, in terms of like your future tests, you don't need to be able to translate these, but you need to look at this verb and know that's a recommendation. Even though I don't know exactly what that means in Spanish, that falls under the list of phrases that introduce the subjunctive. Which ones are obvious? It's very obvious that you know what this means. What's a verb up here that you're like, oh, I know right off the bat what that means. I don't even have to study it. Prohíbe, right, exactly. Prohibits, right. So I prohibit that you all hablen inglés, por ejemplo. Subjuntivo. Instead of saying, no hablen inglés, I'm saying, les prohíbo que hablen inglés. What's another one that's obvious? Recomienda, ¿qué más? Manda. What do you think manda means? This looks a lot like what word? Mandatos, right? Mandatory, mandates, ¿no? ¿Qué más? Importa, muy bien. ¿Algo más? Anything that you're like, I think I might know what it means. Insiste. What do you think that means? Insist. Insist. No? What do you think sugiere means? If recomienda means recommends, and these all have to do with recommending, suggest. Muy bien. Suggest. Anything else? What do you think aconseja means? If this means recommend, and this means suggest, what do you think aconseja means? What's a synonym similar to this word in English that has to do with recommendations? What are you doing right now before you register? You're meeting with your advisors. Advises. No? And you're meeting with your advisor because they're giving you recommendations on what to take next spring. And then some of the less obvious ones would be pide, which you already know what that means. I'll refresh your memory here in a second. And ruega. Ruega is the least obvious, but it starts with an R, recommendation, and actually it means begs. Begs. And actually, in Spanish, sometimes some words in Spanish are a little bit more dramatic than what we use in English. And I see this all over in Spain. Like, se ruega no fumar. Like, we beg that you don't smoke. It's just a little bit more passionate, but it falls under recommendations. This verb, though, not poder, very tricky. Poder, poner, and pedir are very often confused because the spelling is so similar. What does pedir mean? Pedir? You know what this verb means? Pedir. Pedir ayuda or pedir una hamburguesa en un restaurante O en el restaurante Mellow Mushroom, muchas personas piden la pizza de queso, I don't know. See? Order or asks. Order or ask. So you can use it in the context of a restaurant, ordering, or in the context of asking for something, asking for someone's number, asking for help, etc. Okay? Y so ahora vamos a hacer una actividad. Ustedes van a decidir si es un mandato o si es el subjuntivo. But it's also based on el contexto. So ustedes van a indicar si es un mandato o si es el subjuntivo. Mandato o subjuntivo. Hay que indicar. I should have made these bigger, like, no puedo leer. Muy bien, okay. Mandato, ¿no? Mandato, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué es un mandato? ¿Por qué es un mandato? ¿Por qué no es el subjuntivo? Sí, muy directo, right? Miguel, cama, haga la cama. No? Muy directo. What's the saying in English? Miguel, make the bed. No? After you wake up. Mandato or subjuntivo? Muy bien, chicos. Mandato. No, mandato. ¿Por qué? ¿Cómo se dice, Paco? Juegue tenis mañana conmigo. ¿Sí? Yeah, just like muy directo. Juegue. Now, y mira, Paxton, juegue. Now, go to the yo, stem changing verb. Drop the yo, change it to the opposite of what you know, but it's also a gar verb. No? Okay. Mandato or subjuntivo? Ustedes deciden. Perfecto. Now subjuntivo. ¿Por qué?
Porque es mejor que.
Es mejor que. Exactamente. So what's this saying? Es mejor que. It's what?
Best.
It's best or better. Muy bien. It's better what? That he sweep. No? Muy bien. After having a party. So el. So here, Denise, we have the el, the subject. In this case, we really need a subject because es mejor is an impersonal expression. We don't know who we're talking to or about. ¿Cuál es el infinitivo de barra? Barrer. Go to the yo, drop the yo, change it to the opposite of what you. Mandato or subjuntivo. ¿Cuál es? Muy obvio. No, es muy obvio. Es un mandato. ¿No? Vaya a la biblioteca. ¿Cómo se dice vaya en inglés? Go. El verbo ir es irregular. Vaya. ¿No? Mandato o subjuntivo. Ahora es muy obvio, ¿no? Es el subjuntivo. ¿Por qué? Le ruega. ¿Cómo se dice ruega? Beg. No, por favor. Le ruega que la clase. What's up with the le? Le is referring to whom? La profesita or la clase? La clase. Remember, this is an object pronoun, not a subject pronoun. A subject pronoun would be ella. Le ruega. Okay, ahora, chicos, now I'm just going to throw in these infinitivos. Okay, so tenemos tres opciones, infinitivo, mandato or subjuntivo. Let's see if you can figure it out before I even explain it, because you've seen it before. ¿Cuál es? Subjuntivo, mandato, infinitivo. A ver. Muy bien. Subjuntivo, ¿no? El subjuntivo, ¿por qué? Insiste que, ¿no? Insiste que. La clase, new subject. Profesor does the subject before the K, because I'm the one insisting. But then I have a new subject, la clase. And so this verb is conjugated based on la clase. This is our second subject, our new subject, la clase. Ponga. ¿Cuál es el infinitivo de ponga? Poner. So what am I telling you to do? Set the table. When? Close. Remember, A comes before D. A means before, antes. Muy bien. Subjuntivo, mandato, infinitivo. Mandato. ¿Por qué? Sacuda. No, sacudir, sacuda. ¿Cómo se dice sacuda los muebles? Dust. ¿No? Y ahora tenemos el infinitivo. ¿No? Infinitivo. ¿Por qué? Sí, Tiffany?
You have the phrase, but there's no K connecting.
Muy bien. We have the phrase es bueno, but I don't have K connecting it. Why? Why? What's it saying es bueno ver? It's good to see. So why even bother with the subjunctive? Why do we even need that K? Why would we use a K, introduce a new subject, and conjugate this verb ver in the subjunctive form, which is the same as the command form? Why would I do that? Why even learn the subjunctive? See?
Does it make like the words flow better or sound?
Kind of. You're on the right track in terms of there's like more to it than what appears. See?
Because it's giving you an opinion on the situation.
Kind of. So let's think about it in English. Let me just break it down for you in English, okay? So es bueno ver los PowerPoints is saying what? It's good to watch the PowerPoints, right? That are available on Oaks. That would be an infinitive, right? It's good to watch or good to see. The subjunctive would be more like, it's good that y'all see. Or James, you watch. Or Lauren, you watch the PowerPoints on Oaks. So, Brooke?
What if it was just like, it's good that the PowerPoints are on Oaks?
It's good that the PowerPoints are on Oaks. Let me answer that question after we explain the difference of those two examples in English. So hold that thought. So what's the difference between it's good to see the PowerPoints on Oaks versus it's good that James and Lauren watch the PowerPoints on Oaks? What's the difference? What meaning has changed now in the context? What has changed here?
General?
Yeah, exactly. This is like first day of class, blah, 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 going over the syllabus. Now we're like later in the semester and Lauren and James are in my office. And now it's much more what? Personal, much more specific, okay? So we use the subjunctive when we introduce that new subject. This is what I was saying I was going to get to later. We use the infinitive when it's like basic, generic, En la clase de español es importante hablar español. But I'm walking down the classroom and Mark's like, I got a question. And I'm like, Mark, es importante que tú hables español. Now, ¿entienden la diferencia? Or I could just be like super direct and be like, Mark, hable español. No? Okay. Número 4. Subjuntivo, mandato o infinitivo. Muy obvio, ¿no? Subjuntivo, chicos. Excelente. ¿Por qué? Salud.
Recomiendo.
Sí, recomiendo que. Who am I recommending to? You. How do you know? Tay. So careful on the supersite, chicos. If you look after that K, let's say on a supersite you have to put like this second verb in the subjunctive and you're like, go to the O, drop the O, change the opposite of what I know. But there's no subject after that K. look at the phrase before the K, because if there's a pronoun like le or me or te or nos, that tells you who is the recipient, who's receiving that advice, okay? And notice, with the commands, we only have an option of like almuerce or almuercen, nada más. But these verbs can go in any form. Nosotros, go to the O, drop the O, change it to the opposite of what we know. So we can have, our answers on the superset and the test can be pongamos, or almorcemos, or pidamos, por ejemplo. ¿Cuáles, chicos? A ver. Subjuntivo. Muy bien. ¿Por qué? Es malo que. What's it saying? It's like totally bad, Sylvia. What? Leaves her trash. Right. So I'm talking about her behind her back, and I'm using this impersonal expression to express an opinion, which is kind of what you were noticing. And then I'm using this verb. What's the infinitive of deje? Dejar. Remember we talked about this verb with dejar un mensaje? What was dejar un mensaje? To what? Leave a message. So we have other uses to leave something behind, like a message or trash. We can use that. ¿Cuáles? Y aquí tenemos, muy bien chicos, infinitivo. ¿Por qué? Es bueno hacer, ¿no? Infinitivo. So what's this saying? It's good to make the bed after you wake up. Am I talking to anybody specifically? No, this is just like, you know, you're moving into the dorm and your RA is like listing off generic rules, okay? Nothing specific till you get in trouble. So we use infinitives when there's no K, obviously. The difference would be te recomiendo que almuerces. That's the subjunctive, right? Because it's very specific. Maybe, you know, I'm talking to somebody with an eating disorder that never eats lunch, and I'm like, te recomiendo que almuerces todos los días. Versus just, you know, going to college and remembering, you know, to always eat lunch. Or maybe breakfast would be a better one. A lot of people skip breakfast. Recomiendo almorzar. Notice when I can use recomiendo with almorzar. And when I do, I'm not going to use that pronoun because it's not specific and I don't have the K. And we do that when there's no specific subject. This is like very generic. Haga la cama, Miguel, versus es bueno hacer la cama. So on the test, what are you going to need to know for the test? On the test, we're going to do what we just did. I'm going to give you, I already talked about the command section where I'm going to give you like 4 different problems, scenarios, and you're going to write, you know, negative and affirmative commands to resolve those problems, just like we did at the beginning of the class. That's one section on the test. Another section on the test is just going to be this list. You're not conjugating verbs, you're only recognizing, and you're going to write infinitivo, subjuntivo, or mandato. That will be your answer. It's like multiple choice, and you're only recognizing. Seems easy, right? But a lot of students struggle. They get confused, they overlap, they forget the basics. So it's very important, maybe before the test, that you go through just that segment that we just did on this PowerPoint. Muy buena.